We came out here to kind of do a quick walk around. Trees this big or bigger, I'm gonna leave on the property regardless of where they're at. Almost everything else is gonna go. Get a location pick as soon as I can start getting some of these trees cut down. And we will get a location pick for the house. Nobody lives full time up here yet. People have found springs on them, so I'm hoping that we can get lucky and find something. This is what a week's worth of work looks like. So these posts are the result of all this over here. Took my wife up to look at it, and she thought if we could get it for the right price, we should buy it. Here, let it burn down a little more before I take off. Well, we're just about done on this lower piece. A major portion of our first year developing our homestead revolved around clearing the land. The land was so heavily covered with invasive maple trees that we had to hand pick which trees we were going to leave and do our best to remove everything else by hand. Along the way, we tried to use that maple for everything from firewood to fencing, but at the end of the day, a good portion of it just had to be burned. Once the maple trees were removed, the invasive weeds came in. Those had to be managed as well. It was a constant process of figuring out what had to stay and what had to go. This has been sitting on my property since I bought the property. And at the same time, figure out how we can make the best of the land that we have to work with. That's one way to get it done. You should have seen the mice go ripping out of that thing. This was one of the most educating experiences I've ever had, to say the least. Your view out the kitchen window, you'd be able to look down over this way. Hard to visualize when the pad looks like this.
Yeah, this is not big enough.
It's not deep enough, right?
It's not deep enough.
Okay. As we got the land cleared and opened up, it began to get more real as far as the idea of living full-time up here. I met a guy this last week that is a self-proclaimed well witcher. I always had a hard time with these guys just because there's no tangible evidence that explains why these guys can do what they do, but at the same time, my grandfather used them on our ranch. My great-grandfather used them on our ranch.
Kept on it, never crossed all the way down. So this is the direction that channel goes.
Okay.
I still got the, the stakes out to triangulate it, and just to make sure. And this is right where everything intersected.
This is the hole that the well witcher said was 6 feet deep, 14 gallons per minute. Why not? What are you scared of? You can see almost exactly 8 feet deep. There's something going on down there because I keep getting moisture, like significant moisture, but I'm pulling rocks out like this stuff. I've been on the track hoe for about 4 hours, maybe 5 hours. Maybe under that rock right there is the exact spot where the well witcher said it was 6 feet. We began talking about where would the best place be to put the house and how we were going to live full-time in a place where nobody had ever lived full-time before. Yeah, about 14 feet. It's just not safe. And who knows? Who knows how much deeper I may have to go. What you got, Retro?
Worms.
Show me.
Some of them are a little ripe on one side.
Ooh-wee.
It seemed like there was always something to do.
A little overly comfortable. And I ran the damn tractor off the front of the trailer. One stake there, one stake way out there, one stake right there, one stake right there. That represents 40 feet wide by 50 feet deep. This is where our barn slash house is gonna be. What do you think, Reedy?
Sweet.
Sweet? And have a basket. I want to have a big old concrete dry area where the kids can play basketball and stuff. So have the house at an angle where it's kind of looking, maybe at like, this would be the view out here. I was just envisioning this view, but I guess it's a pretty cool view down there too.
The more time I spent up here at our place, the more I began to love what we were doing, and the more I believed it would happen. But it required more work than I could have possibly imagined.
This is the old homestead house my great-great-grandparents built when they got here about 1875. Say that again.
The longer the ribbon, the more clay.
Which means it's not going to permeate as well.
As long as we're under 2 inches, we're okay. If we get over 2 inches, it's too much clay, it won't percolate very well.
This is about a 50 by 70 pad that he dug in. We're going to do an 8-foot back wall right here. You can see the corner. 8-foot concrete back wall, which will be basically the back of the house where the kitchen's going to be. We have same thing down here. Have to put in these egress windows. We're good to go. Now I get to unload them.
This is what will go in that storage room that we're
utility
room.
I got to build a battery bank.
We subcontracted a few people out to help us get the foundation started, but I tried desperately to do everything I could to not only keep costs down, but because I wanted to do it as well. Mainly around the concrete is where I had the most help.
Within about minutes of the concrete trucks pulling up, 2 of my friends pulled up to help me. Turned out good. It's a beautiful day, right, Reedy?
A wonderful day to be a family.
A wonderful day to be a family?
Yeah.
I agree, son. But I'm trying to see if I can get this thing out of the road. The expedition is stuck. Not quite stuck, but it's close to being stuck, about 200 yards up that way. Another eventful day. All right, after 2.5 days of tying rebar, I'm done. It didn't even rain that much. I mean, it rained quite a bit yesterday, I guess. But here's what the last 3 days of setting forms looks like. We finally got all the forms set. We squared up the front of this. We are ready for concrete. We have concrete showing up Monday morning. It's done. It's done. Now tomorrow we're gonna strip these forms. If I ever touch another concrete form in my lifetime, it'll be too soon. The walls are done. They're stripped. While I was working, I would have one bucket sitting by the fire getting warm. So these are the 2 area wells that I put in. One of the biggest issues we've had since day one is this road. And one load, so about 17 yards of gravel. There has to be water. There has to be water right around here. We got water. We got water. I thought today would be a perfect day to come and look at this bad boy. He also told me that a pack of wolves and or a pack of coyotes oftentimes lives under the tracks. Didn't you always want to have a cabin you ski in and ski out of? Problem is, this is going to be our house. We should have brought a sled. And it's just turned this into a mushy, sloppy, nasty mess. I couldn't even turn up the drive to get up to my property.
I knew the road was going to be the single greatest challenge to my safety and my family's safety. And I knew that I had to figure out a way to make that road safe if we were really going to live up here full time.
That was so
Sit up, dude.
deep. Noel, 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 Noel.
Merry Christmas to Red Poppy Ranch. Merry Christmas to Red Poppy Ranch.
Merry Christmas from Red Poppy Ranch.
Reedy, you didn't do it.
There was about a 2-month period where I could not get up to our property because the snow was so deep. So I tried to do everything I could from the rental house in town while I was waiting for that snow to melt. Building the chicken coop that we still use was one of those projects.
All of the wood that was used was either recycled from our house that we're building or scavenged from old barns that are falling down.
I also knew that I had to have a good, dependable truck that would get up there regardless of the road conditions. I picked up an old mid-80s Ford diesel and I put some serious work into it so it wouldn't let me down when I needed it the most. Starting with a lift kit, I then put some very good quality mud terrain tires on it and then a 10,000 pound winch.
I want this to be able to cut a 36-inch diameter log.
Again, working on the projects from home, I wanted to have a sawmill that I could use during the building process. At this point, I didn't know if I was going to be able to build a log-style home, but that's what I wanted to do. So having a sawmill that I could use was something that I convinced myself I had to have. I still use the sawmill on occasion. It needs a little bit of work to tighten things up, but for something that I built in my driveway, it's done an exceptional job. There was a tremendous amount of trial and error during this first year.
So we've got our blade, we've got everything done. The last thing that we're gonna do is get the pulleys figured out and get this thing dialed in to where it's cutting perfectly.
There were so many mistakes made, but I had to try something. And a lot of our experience has simply come down to that fact. Rather than sitting back and watching the world go by, I decided to do something. Oftentimes I learned much more when minor mistakes were made. One of my good buddies, Josh, came up with his excavator and really helped us put a dent in the final grooming before we started doing some of the dirt work for the house.
Cedar tree.
It's a cedar tree. Who's Cedar?
My mom.
Is that Mom's name?
Yes.
The entire first year was a process of trial and error and figuring out just how we can make this piece of property usable for the lifestyle that we wanted to live. There are 83 individual videos that make up this first year time-lapse video. Those 83 videos are in a playlist called The First Year. You can find that playlist at the end of this video in the top right corner. But I must say, the second year gets much better. The second year is when things really start to get fun.